On Christina's Eve, many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not untie the sheets. One breathed slowly and silently. T was listening. I heard a sound. A sound a friend had told me I'd never hear, the ringing bells of Santa's sleigh. There is no Santa, my friend had insisted, but one knew he was wrong. Late the niggle, no one did hear sounds, though not of ringing hells. From outside came the sounds of hissing steam and squeaking men. He looked through my window. Train standing perfectly in front of my house. It was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around it. A conductor stood at the open door of one of the ears. He took a large pulpit, watched from Liscast, then looked up at my window. One put on my slippers and robe. One tiptoed downstairs and out the door. All aboard, the conductor cried out. I ran up to him. Well, he said, are you where? One asked. Why, to the North Pole, of course, was his answer. This is the Polar Express. One took his outstretched hand and he pulled me aboard. The train was filled with other children, all in their pajamas and nightgowns. We sang Christmas carols and ate candies with nougat centers as white as snow. We drank hot cocoa as thick and rich as melted chocolate bars. Outside, the lights of towns and villages flickered in the distance as the Polar Express raced northward. Soon there were no more lights to be seen. We traveled through cold, dark forests where lean wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from terror train as it thundered. Through the quiet wilderness, we climbed mountains so high it seemed as if we would scrape the moon. But the Polar Express never slowed down. Faster and faster we ran along, rolling over peaks and through valleys like a car on a roller coaster. The mountains turned into hills, the hills to snow-covered plains. We crossed a barren desert of ice. The great polar teacap lights appeared in the distance. They looked like the lights of a strange ocean liner sailing on a frozen sea. There, said the conductor, is the North Pole. Look, asterisk, shouted one of the children. The elves. Outside, we saw hundreds of elves. As our train drew closer to the center of the North Pole, we slowed to a crawl. So crowded were the streets with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no farther, we stopped and the conductor led us outside. We pressed through the crowd to the edge of a large, open circle. In front of us stood Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited. They pranced and paced, ringing the silver sleigh bells a hat hung from their harnesses. It was a magical sound, like nothing I'd ever heard. Across the circle, the elves moved apart and Santa Claus appeared. The elves cheered wildly. He marched over exclamation mark OS and, pointing to me, said, let's have this fellow here. He jumped into his sleigh. The conductor handed me up. I sat on Santa's knee and he asked, now, what would you like for Christmas? I knew that I could have any gift I could imagine, but the thing I wanted most for Christmas was not inside Santa's giant bag. What Tell wanted more than anything was one silver bell from Santa's sleigh. When one asked, Santa smiled, then gave me a hug, and told an elf to cut a bell from a reindeer's harness. The elf tossed it up to Santa. He stood, holding the bell high above him, and called out, I pound the first gift of Christina's one. A dock struck midnight as the elves roared their approval. Santa handed a bell to me, and he put it in my bathrobe. Polka. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh. Santa shouted out the reindeers' names and cracked his whip. His team charged forward. It climbed into the air. Santa circled once above us, then disappeared in IHE cold, dark, polar sky. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see the bell. One reached into my pocket, but the only thing I felt was a hole. I had lost the silver bell from Santa Claus's sleigh. Let's hurry outside and look for it, one of the children said. But the train gave a sudden lurch and started moving. We're on our way home. I broke my heart while there was the bell. When the train reached my house, I sadly left the Ollier children I stood at my doorway and waved goodbye. The conductor said something from the moving train, but one couldn't know him. What? T yelled out. He cupped his hands around his mouth. Merry Christmas, he shouted. The Polar Express let out a loud blast from its whistle and sped away. Midmaster risk him as on Christmas morning my little sister Sarah and one opened our presents. When it looked as if everything had been unwrapped, Sarah found one last small box behind a tree. On it, inside, was the silver OL, their WRS. A note, found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix the hole in your pocket. Signed, Mr. C. One shook the hell. Made the most beautiful sound my sister and one had ever heard. My mother said, "Oh, that's too bad." "Yes," said my father, "it's broken." When I'd shaken die bell, my parents had not heard a sound. At one time most of my friends couldn't hear the bell, but as years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah found one Christmas that she wanted no longer hear its sweet sound. Though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me as it does for all who truly believe.